What's up? It's your girl Kamille Faith, and I'm back again with another video. So as you can see, I have a special guest, my supporter, my advocate, my best friend, my #1 fan, my mother.
Aw, such a sweet introduction. Thank you, sweetie.
To share my story with y'all, and I thought I would invite the person that knows it the most. So yeah, I wanted to just help other people and let you know where I've came from and my background and where I am today. So you can get started.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for having me as your special guest today.
Of
I feel
course.
honored. I just want to start by saying that, I am extremely proud of you. You have just accomplished so much despite any obstacles that you were faced with. And I am just honored to be your mother. You and your brother have just given me the greatest gift of motherhood, and I cherish that on a regular basis. So I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you.
But you are definitely, I must say, was our miracle child. You and your brother are like 9 years apart, but that was not by design or for our lack of trying. It just took me a long time to get pregnant. So, we reached out and to get a fertility specialist because we really wanted to have another child. Had a couple procedures that didn't work. We were in the process of, starting in vitro fertilization. Your dad even learned how to give me shots in my stomach and everything.
Wow.
So it was a very involved process. And I remember the weekend before we were supposed to start, like on a Monday. So that weekend before, I just remember just being so restless in my spirit. I just, I was just wondering, like, okay, is this what I'm supposed to do? I was really just kind of stressed. So I did what I always do when I'm not feeling good about something and I need to seek some guidance. I got down on my knees and I just prayed. And I, first of all, thank God for giving us the one child that we had together. And, I said, if I'm supposed to have some more kids, you know what? God, you can do it all by yourself.
Right.
Sarah had a baby in her old age, and I was so worried about, I need to have another child before I'm 40. And I was worried about that.
Right.
And so I remember people used to tell us all the time, oh, when you stop trying, you're going to get pregnant. So after I said that prayer and really, just let go and let God, guess what?
You got pregnant.
Just like that. That's what everybody said. So when I let go and let God, we can see Kamille, right. One of our greatest blessings. So, and my pregnancy with you was pretty easy, I must say. I know with your brother, I was on bed rest for 6 months, but with you, I was able to travel with my job. My team was out in Arizona, so I was going out there a couple times a month.
Right.
Even went to New York. I know you want to go to New York, but you've actually already been there, but you were inside of me. So, I was doing pretty well, but I remember when I was about 5 months along, I got concerned because I didn't feel any movement. I knew at that stage in my pregnancy, I should be seeing an elbow or something, a foot kick me or something. Right. And I told my doctor, I'm just like, hey, she's not moving. I said, I've been pregnant before, and I know at this stage of my pregnancy, I should feel a little bit of movement.
Right.
I remember when I was pregnant with your brother, your dad would walk in the house and he was like, Daddy's home. And Kendall will start doing jumping jacks and everything. I used to get so mad at you. But, there wasn't a lot of movement with you. And at first the doctor said every pregnancy is different. But then they started saying, okay, yeah, you're right. You should have some movement by now. They started doing all the high-level ultrasounds. And you were always in the same position. And from the ultrasound, they were able to tell that you had clubbed feet, where your feet were actually turned in.
Right.
And, I was like, well, that's okay. We can get braces for that or maybe surgery. No big deal. I was like, is she okay? And we had extra tests, what's it's called, an amniocentesis, where they actually would go in and check to make sure that you were okay. All the test came back normal. So, it was just like, okay, she's okay. I had a planned C-section delivery because after your brother, I knew that's the only way I can have kids is through a C-section. We went in for your C-section, and during the delivery, the doctors broke both your legs and one of your arms when they pulled you out. Because you didn't move in utero, you had contractures. That's where, your legs or your arms were always stuck in one position. But when they pulled you out, the doctor's not aware of, your condition, and they broke your limbs. You weren't breathing on your own. When you're pregnant, the first thing, when you deliver that baby, every mom waits to hear that cry.
Yeah.
I did not hear that cry, and I kept saying, what's going on? Why I don't hear my baby crying? And I just, I heard the doctor say, get the NICU in here, stat, and doctors and nurses come running in the room. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And your dad was sitting on a stool at my shoulder, and it's like he was kind of frozen by all the activity that was going on in the room. I was like, go check on our baby. And I remember he got up, and I guess he went over to where they were working on you because you weren't breathing on your own at that point. And then he came back and he sat down and he put his head on my shoulder and he started crying. And by this time, I'm like, what is going on? I'm freaking out. Nobody was telling me anything. And my blood pressure at this point was through the roof. And the doctor's just like, okay, we're going to have to put you out, because I was, hysterical at this point. And I remember a doctor came into the room, and they just stopped by for me to see you. I saw your face. You were beautiful, as you still are today. They were bagging you with the ambu bag because you wasn't breathing, but you were beautiful. And I just remember saying, mommy loves you. You're going to be okay. And next thing I know, they knocked me out so they could finish sewing me up or whatever. So about 2 hours later, I was in my room in recovery. And I remember waking up to the doctors in my room, my family, everyone was in there. And the doctors pretty much were preparing me for that there's a possibility that you weren't going to make it through the night. I was like, what's going on? Why? It was like, we don't know what's going on, but her case is really critical, and we don't think she's going to make it. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, God gave me this baby. I know He's not going to take her away from me. And at that point, I was like, just take me to see my baby. So, the doctors kept trying to talk to me. I didn't want to listen to what they had to say anymore. I just was trying to get to you. So I was like, can somebody please get me a wheelchair? Because, I had just been cut open, so I couldn't get up and walk as fast as I wanted to get to you. So they finally took me down to the NICU to see you. You had all these tubes hooked up to you. They had already put splints on your broken limbs. And the doctors, were talking to me. And as soon as I saw you in that incubator, I just was stroking your hair. It's like, mommy's here. And the doctor, I remember the neurologist telling me, he was just like, well, we don't think there's any brain activity. And I'm looking at that doctor. I'm just like, she's 2 hours old, and she's tracking my voice at 2 hours old. If there was no brain activity, she wouldn't even recognize my voice. And he was like, well, we're going to do a scan in the morning to confirm if there's any issues. And I was like, okay, you can run all the tests you need to run, but I'm pretty sure there's brain activity. That faith kicked in totally, even though when the doctors painted the worst possible picture.
Right.
So thank God you made it through the night. And then the neurologist came back and said, yes, there's brain activity. I was like, okay, I already knew that.
Right.
And it took them a couple days to diagnose you, and they said you had arthrogryposis. Never heard of it. It's very rare. It's like 1 in 10,000. And I remember, the doctor said that, well, she made it through the night, but we doubt she'll leave the hospital alive. They said, she'll never be able to communicate, breathe on her own, walk, or, just the worst possible outcome that they were predicting. And I remember at one point when you were in the hospital, you stopped breathing 6 times in one day. And I remember a doctor turn it around. It's like he was just exhausted, and he just kind of threw his hands up and said, like, what do you want me to do? And I'm just like, what do you mean? What do I want you to do? I want you to do everything medically possible you know how to do to save my daughter. You know, you don't decide if she's leaving this earth today, so you just keep working on her. And I felt like it was a constant fight, because I felt like the doctors had given up on you. They didn't even give you a chance. But my Faith, your middle name, Faith, I just knew that God had, you know, he had given me you for a reason, and I know that he had big plans for you, for us. So I just kept it positive, and I just kept, you know, leaning on my faith and just praying, knowing that God was going to get you through this. So it was a really rough 2.5 months in the hospital. That was the hardest thing for me, to leave the hospital. They literally had to kick me out of the hospital because I stayed there longer than what I was supposed to, because the idea of me having a baby and going home without my baby was just unreal. And I remember that night they told me, they said, well, you can stay here until we need the bed. And of course, you know, when they came to the time that they had to kick me out, it was like midnight. You know, your dad, you know, came to pick me up, and, you know, your grandmother, your mom was there, you know, to take me home. And it was like, I'm not supposed to go home without my baby. And I remember when I got home, I walked up into your room in the nursery, and it just, okay, I was not going to try to do this and mess up my makeup. But I remember walking in your room and saying, I don't have my baby here. But I knew I had to get back to the hospital as soon as possible. When I recovered a little bit, I pretty much was spending, you know, 18 to 20 hours a day in the hospital with you, because I felt I had to be there for you, because I felt doctor wasn't there round the clock, that they would just probably like just let you go peacefully or something. So I was pretty adamant about making sure that they did everything, as long as you were in that hospital, they could save you. And your dad had actually looked into maybe transferring you to Duke. At that time, you just wasn't stable enough for us to transfer you to another hospital. But we were at the best hospital in the region where you were born. But anyway, fast forward 2.5 months after being in the NICU, they told me they were sending you home to die. And so you came home, you had a ventilator, you had a trach, you had a feeding tube, and with your condition, like your muscles, not only do you have contractures, but your muscles didn't develop properly, so your muscles are thin, weak, or missing throughout your body. So I remember when I was trying to nurse you, you weren't able to latch on, or you couldn't, you weren't able to suck a bottle, because we have muscles in our face, so even your muscle tones in your face were weak, so they had to put in a feeding tube to be able to feed you. So it was a lot going on, but I was so ready to get you home, because I felt having you at home, I knew that I could be with you 24/7 and make sure that, you know, you had the best care. So you came home, we had round the clock nursing. And I have to shout out to all my nurses who have ever worked with Kamille. I appreciate you guys. You taught me a lot about Kamille's medical care, and I appreciate every one of you. You know, they were really there for us. God provided me with people, the resources I need to be able to make sure that we took care of you. And as soon as we got you home, you know, your dad and I was doing research. You know, we consulted with doctors in Wilmington, Delaware. We took you to Seattle, Washington. We met the doctor who actually wrote the book on arthrogryposis. We just felt that we had to be educated. We wanted to know everything that we could about your condition to make sure that, you know, you had the best possible chance at life. So we were just, you know, continuing on that mission just to make sure you have the great care. We had some great doctors along the way. Shout out to Dr. Gibbons, the world's greatest pediatrician. She just was so wonderful, with everything. And, she would always tell me like, okay, maybe you need to think about this or think about that. So I really appreciate everyone that was there for us. We had a whole community, and definitely for family members. I have a praying mom. You had praying grandmothers. Just people that was there for us and constantly kept you lifted up in prayer. That you would continue to just do better. And when the doctor said you'll never breathe on your own, the ventilator came off after the first year. The trach was removed after 2.5 years. You still have the feeding tube, but we believe in God that that's going to be removed one day soon, right? Yes, we definitely continue to pray on that. But, and when the doctor said there was no brain activity, she's a straight A student, member of the National Honor Society. So, and when they said she'll never be able to communicate, and she didn't make any sound for the first 6 months. When I say no sound, not a whimper or anything. And that was the hardest thing for me. I was always wondering, like, how's my child going to be able to communicate with me? I was like, Lord, if she may never walk, I need her to be able to communicate with me. And I was concerned. I was like, well, she can't do sign language because her fingers are contracted. She doesn't have the regular movement of her fingers to be able to do sign language. I was like, oh, how is she going to be able to communicate with me? But that was my prayer constantly. I said, whatever she has going on, I need my child to be able to communicate with me. And I remember after I had you, I started working from home. Even that was a blessing. I have a wonderful company that has always given me the flexibility I need to take care of you. Even to this day, I still continue to work from home, and so I can be here for you and take you to your appointments and everything. But I remember I was on a conference call, and like I said, you were about 6 months old, and Miss Sue, shout out to Miss Sue, our wonderful nurse we had for the first 2.5 years of your life. I heard a little faint whimper when I was on a conference call. At first, I thought I was hearing something, and so I continued listening on my conference call. Then I heard it again, and I got up from my desk, and I was leaving out of my office. Miss Sue was coming out of your room, and I just said, "Is that my baby?" And she said, "Yes." And I was just like, "Oh, I just all praises to God for that." Because I know once we heard that it was just a little faint whimper. I know that was just the beginning of so much more. So after you made that first little sound, you started making all the normal baby sounds and, and talking and babbling, all of that. But by the time you were 4, you were reading, Dr. Seuss books. And so I was just so thankful that God did give me the first thing I asked for, let my child be able to communicate with me. And when doctors say you won't be able to communicate, you remember when you were in elementary school, you sang the national anthem at the Knights baseball game. So, and I remember being so emotional at that game. She was there singing with her school choir. Number one, my dad, who's no longer here, he loved baseball, and I know he would have been so proud. To see his grandbaby out there singing at a baseball game. So, okay, I'm still doing it, but yeah, that was a very special moment for me. That, once, you were really overcoming all of the obstacles that the doctors said that you wouldn't do, and so I'm just so excited and thankful, for just God's grace and mercy that He's had on your life. And for you too, you're such an inspiration to me because, I know we all wake up sometimes and we may want to have a pity party, but I look at you, you have never complained about anything. Not only are you dealing with the arthrogryposis on a daily basis, a 1.5 years ago, you were diagnosed with Crohn's disease on top of this. And I remember when we got that diagnosis of the Crohn's disease, I remember sitting on the bed and just talking. I just kind of want to do a pulse check on how you were feeling, because I know it was overwhelming to me, because I was thinking like, Lord, how much more my baby got to go through? And I remember asking you how you were doing, how you were feeling, and you remember what you said.
Okay. God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers.
Blew me away. Here I am, all, overwhelmed about the new medical diagnosis, and my child, pretty much helped me put it all in perspective. She wasn't worried about, okay, what's this next challenge I'm gonna have? No, she looked at it with a positive attitude. And that's why I am just so amazed by her, so inspired by her on a daily basis, because she never complains about anything. She's 15 years old. She's had 16 surgical procedures. And that's, and it hasn't been easy surgeries. I remember when she was probably about 4 years old, she had to have hip surgery. Her hip was literally out of place. And after the surgery, they put in rods during the surgery, and she was in a full body cast, a cast from her chest down to her ankles. Can you imagine being in a whole body cast in the month of July? Well, I think that cast probably worried me more than it did her, because I was constantly like, baby, you okay? Do you need anything? Are you hot? Are you itching? And she was like, I'm fine, Mom, I'm fine. Always, never complains about anything. So, like I said, she's just been truly a blessing to me, to her dad, to our entire family, and anybody that comes in contact with her. You will walk away a different person after meeting her. Just because when you see how much she does on a regular basis just to complete the normal tasks that we take for granted. Like I'm scratching my hair, moving my hair out my face. Well, I will need to do something like that for her. Of course, if she is in the right position, maybe she can do it. But, everything takes a lot more effort for her, but she never complains and she still gets it done. So that's why I've been telling her story for as long as she's been here, because it's such a testimony for me, as I know that, I can share with others, because, we got through it. And if we got through it, guess what? Somebody else can too. You can get through it as well. So I'm just so proud of my daughter. I feel like honored, like, oh Lord, you gave me this amazing child, and and your brother as well. You guys are just wonderful kids, and your dad and I are just so blessed, to be your parents. And I'm excited about the things Kamille is doing, and I know she's been talking about this YouTube channel for a while, so I'm glad she's doing this. She has so much more in store. You guys haven't even seen all the things yet that she has in store, but just stay tuned. Make sure you follow her, subscribe, and share it, because we want her story to help someone else, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I hope this can help all of you guys, and I hope this was very inspirational, knowing that you can do anything, and all the stuff that I'm going through, I'm still living my life. So I feel like whatever you're going through, just ask God to help you. And yeah, that's really what I wanted to say. Is there anything else?
No, I'm just proud of you. I'll say that all the time. Thank you.
Alright, well, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you stay tuned for the next video. Bye.